I started a brand from absolute zero and hit 2 million views and 10,000 followers in 30 days. But almost everything I tested at first failed. It turns out virality wasn't the win. The win was finding the repeatable pattern that made the algorithm and the audience move. By the end of this video, I'll show you the exact 30-day framework I used, what I posted, how I tested the formats, what platform hit, and how I started converting those views into a community and an email list. And I know this because I've been building startup brands from 0 to 6 figures with content systems since 2015. And this was a live experiment where the data did the talking. By the end of this video, you're gonna have a clear 3-phase plan. The first is to pick the right niche or gap. The second is to test content fast until a format hits. And the third is to turn that attention into owned traffic and monetization. This is exactly what I walk you through inside my free community. I have free resources, coaching, and training I use to build brands from 0 to 6 figures and beyond. So you can join for free using the link in the description box below. So over the holidays, I started a new brand. I started from absolute zero. There was no website, no content, nothing. I created all social media accounts from scratch, all with 0 following and 0 views. Looking back at this experiment, I have to admit that it felt like a steep mountain to climb, and admittedly, a challenge I was excited to try. Would it work? Was there an audience? Would the content rank on the algorithms? What type of content do I even start creating? Should I do posts, images, or videos? Where was the audience hanging out? Was it YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, or TikTok? So many unknowns, variables, and tests to run. I didn't set out to start a brand. I simply wanted to share research I was already doing on the subject. What I discovered was that much of the information available on this particular subject was either incomplete or built on half-truths. I saw a clear gap in the market, one that needed to be filled with more accurate, deeper, and more engaging information than what currently existed. That's when I decided to clear up common misconceptions and dive deeper into the subject than any other channel or source out there. Now, there were several things that were working in my favor. I am genuinely passionate about the subject. There is already a large audience for the niche I chose, and there was a clear opening in the market for the type of content that I wanted to create. Which brings me to the next thing that worked in my favor: the type of content that I chose to create. I started by testing written posts, barely reaching 300 views total across 5 posts. I then shifted to audio content posted as reels. At first, they averaged around 2,000 views, but I started to see traction when one video reached 1,000 views. That was enough to pique my interest and push me to experiment further to see what else I could do to increase engagement. It was a combination of visual storytelling. There was already a ton of content on the subject, but very little of it was visually compelling. Most of it looked the same, and while the story was there, the visuals weren't. They weren't something I was personally drawn to. And I remember thinking that I bet I could create content that's far more visually appealing and tells the story in a way that hasn't been told before. That's when I decided to focus on a specific type of video around the subject. Almost immediately, I started seeing videos reach 1,000 views. I repurposed that same content across multiple platforms to figure out where the audience was actually spending their time. To my surprise, Facebook turned out to be the platform where my ideal audience was most active. I continued posting daily to test different storytelling techniques and formats. I experimented with posts designed to increase engagement, polls, stories, long-form videos, and short-form videos. As I kept posting, something interesting started to happen. Some videos would take off quickly, while others seemed to sit idle. Then weeks later, videos I thought had flopped began gaining momentum. The algorithm was finally finding the right audience for them. One video I'd completely forgotten about went on to rack up 500,000 views on its own in just a matter of days. 30 days of posting almost daily helped me identify clear patterns, the type of content that performed best, the platform where my ideal audience was most active, and the post that consistently drove the highest engagement. And that's exactly what you should be looking for in your first 30 days. You won't have all the answers, but patterns will start to emerge. And the numbers will begin telling you what your audience wants and what they respond to the most. So your job is to pay attention, listen to the data, and repeat the framework that's already working. Now on to the next phase of this challenge. But after all of this, I still had one problem: how to monetize the views. If you've read any of my work before, or if you've watched any of my videos, you already know that I don't really care much for views. Sure, having 1 million views and a lot of followers looks good, but I'm not really interested in appearances. I'm building a business, an asset that generates income. That meant that the next phase was figuring out how to move the audience off of the platforms and onto something that I owned. My own platform, my own community. Somewhere where I controlled the communication and not leave it up to the whims of the algorithm. So I built a free Patreon community and started directing traffic there. At first, it was crickets. No one joined for the first 2 weeks. So I became more intentional about creating curiosity hooks, leaving viewers wanting more and encouraging them to join the free community to get the full story. I started asking people to comment on posts or to DM me, and at first no one did, and those posts got ignored. But then one person commented, then another post I'd created weeks earlier, one that I thought was dead, suddenly started gaining traction with people leaving comments. For some reason, the algorithm decided to start pushing this particular post, and it had found its audience. If you want to know the tools that I use for all of this, I'll leave them in the description box below. Like the tool that I use to automatically reply to all the comments. Now this automation automatically leads them to my gated community. So now these automations are running in the background and I'm slowly building my email list. At this point, I understand the types of posts that this audience engages with and which ones motivated them to leave the platform. Now I'm in the phase of figuring out what this audience is willing to pay for. And even after 30 days, I'm still very much in the early testing stages. This entire challenge reinforced one thing for me. Building a profitable online brand isn't about chasing virality. It's about paying attention, testing intentionality, and letting the data guide your next move. Views come and go, but systems and audience trust and ownership are what compound over time. Now, if you're in the early stages, keep posting and pay attention to your numbers. I'd like to say that it was luck that got me those 2 million views in 30 days. But the reality is that I've been building startup brands from 0 to 6 figures in their first year and marketing strategies since 2015. I've learned to read the patterns, learn quickly, and build systems. So what lesson did I learn from this 30-day challenge? While I'd love to say that the algorithm wins blew in my favor, that wouldn't be entirely accurate. The truth is that it was all strategy. Even the niche and the topic that I picked was one that I knew there was already a demand and an audience for before I created a single post. So no, it was not pure luck that got me those 2 million views. It was strategy, pattern recognition, and the ability to quickly adapt and pivot. Real quick, if you want to take everything we've talked about today even further, be sure to grab my book, Email Marketing Millionaire. It shows you what to send, how to sell, and how to make email marketing your highest converting channel. Grab it in the description box below. If you want guidance, mentorship, and accountability in building a 6-figure online brand through content, and you want someone that's done it multiple times to walk you through the process step by step, go ahead and join my free community in the link in the description box below. If you're struggling with any of these steps, I'd love to know what exactly it is that you're struggling with. Go ahead and leave it in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I will catch you in the next one.